Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jalissa Bermea. I am the manager of early childhood education here at the Cultural Trust. And my pronouns are she, her. And for anyone who needs a visual description, I am a short brown woman with brown short hair. I'm wearing black pants, a maroon turtleneck, and a black and white checkered blazer. Let's see. We are happy to welcome you here to the Trust Stars Education Center. And thank you for joining us for the Creative Conversations, where you get the inside scoop on the PNC Broadway and Pittsburgh series. I am pleased to introduce our presenters for today, Mr. Aaron Crutchfield, and our guest is Justin Scholl. He is the Associate Company Manager for Beetlejuice, so I will let them take it away.
Hey. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
As was mentioned by my friend Jalissa, my name is Aaron, and for people who would like to have the visual description of me, don't have a lot of hair anymore, but I'm a brown man with a cool white beard. I got on my handsome flannel that's yellow and black, because that's what the Steelers wear. And I got my cool khakis on, and aside from that, I'm just looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, I'll introduce, well, we just introduced you a minute ago there, right?
Yeah.
How about we just introduce you so you can say what you look like too?
Oh, yeah. So I am Justin Scholl. I am the Associate Company Manager. My pronouns are he, they. I am, for those that need the description, I am 6'3", very bald. I am wearing a black hat. I'm wearing my very stylish Beetlejuice track jacket, black pants, and my signature Vans, black Vans with the white stripe down the side. That's me.
Excellent. A round of applause. Thank you. So we have a little bit of time to talk and kind of get behind the scenes. And to tell you a little bit more about me, I'll also throw in my pronouns. I go by he, him. And one of the things that I like to do with all of my free performance time is improvisational theater. So to really kind of put this interview on a greased railroad track, we'll get everybody to warm up, so you won't be sitting there thinking, oh, what should I ask Justin? I don't know. So let's get everybody involved here. I'm going to start here, and you'll see how it works. Justin, what's your favorite color?
Red.
All right. This side of the room, what's your favorite color? Yell it out.
Green.
All right, I got green and yellow over here, some Packers fans. And on this side of the room, what's your favorite color?
Red.
Oh, okay, I heard a purple and a maroon. Justin.
Yes.
What's your favorite food?
Macaroni and cheese with breadcrumbs on top.
All right. And from this side of the room, what's your favorite food?
Brisket.
I heard brisket.
I heard brisket too.
And over here, let's get a little more specific, because this looks like a really erudite crowd. What is your favorite breakfast food? All right, I heard a lot of things, but I couldn't quite tell. So let's kind of start easing into this conversation here. What is your favorite uncommon animal? I like giraffes. What about you, Justin?
Oh, red panda.
Oh, red panda.
Yeah.
So we'll
mischievous.
we'll go up there a little bit. I think one thing, as I got a chance to talk to you before, Justin, is you had talked to me and told me a little bit about how your journey into the arts and performance and being an associate manager wasn't kind of a traditional path. Mm-hmm. And I think it might be cool for the audience to hear a little bit about your journey and how you got from maybe where you started to where you are now.
Yeah, so long story long, I was exposed to theater when I was super young. My mom took me to national tours. My very first show was Fiddler on the Roof. I remember seeing it and going, dear God, I need to do what those people are doing. So I did it in high school. I got my undergraduate degree at Greensboro College down in North Carolina. I got it in stage directing and theater management. I decided when I was graduating, at the time I was working for the Southeastern Theater Conference, so I was doing these large, massive educational theater conferences, loved the logistics of all of it. And then I had what I like to refer to it as my quarter life crisis, where I said, dear Lord, I do not want to be an intern the rest of my life, fetching coffee as a directing intern. And so a mentor took me under their wing, said, have you considered a career in arts management? And I was like, don't even know what that means. So then her and I together looked into MFAs in arts management. So I decided to get my master's in arts administration from Southern Utah University. I know, right? Queer little kid moving to Utah. What a treat. And so I went out there. They're partnered with Utah Shakespeare Festival, which is one of the top regional theater programs in the country. And I decided to focus on production, how shows get made, how they get budgeted, how they get built. Moved to New York, worked a ton of really weird jobs. I put together high school events for kids coming to see Broadway shows, and then they would take classes with the Broadway performers. Then that business was really shady, so I broke up with that. And then I was a box office manager for a tiny theater down in Soho. Tons of little things. Then I had my first tumultuous breakup with theater when I was probably 24, 25. I said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I can't pay my rent. I can't do this. And so I walked away from theater, decided to work for my friend's bartering company, which was, again, making no money. And then a friend called and said, hey, this national tour of Memphis the Musical is going out. They're looking for a merchandise manager. Would you be interested in selling T-shirts for a living for a year on the road? And I said, sure. Interviewed. 3 days later, packed up my entire apartment and hit the road. And I haven't looked back since. I've been on the road now for over 10 years. Started off as a merchandise manager, moved up to company management, and then I became fully vested in the union that represents company managers. So the past 3 years, I've been an associate company manager. So I've worked on Miss Saigon, The Band's Visit, and now I'm on Beetlejuice. Those are my 3 last tours.
Wow.
Yeah, so long story, really long. I'm really sorry about that.
I also had that same kind of thing where, now you said selling T-shirts. I started as a rock and roll roadie, hanging lights and doing stuff like that. And then I got bored with it because it just wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. So I moved over to the American Repertory Theater.
Oh, amazing.
And I was building trees that like Cherry Jones would be in top of, and the Serpent Woman.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait, she's on stage. I'm back here with the power saw early in the morning. I don't like it anymore. Yeah. So I kind of turned my attention to improv. What other questions can we ask? What's your favorite facet of your job? It sounds like, advocating for cast and inclusion as people see themselves in the show. But maybe there's a specific facet that also comes to mind.
Honestly, that's the part that really speaks to my soul. During the pandemic, there was a lot of fears about what our world was going to look like when we came back. And honestly, a lot of us prior to the pandemic suffered from extreme professional burnout. It's long out. Theater is a fickle and evil mistress. It is a really great career if you want to pursue it, but some people, it will chew you up and spit you out, and it does not care about your feelings.
True.
And so during the pandemic, I decided that I would get my degree in social work to become a therapist, because one of the things that happened during the pandemic, this really incredible company called Behind the Scenes launched a massive survey of all backstage employees and what their mental health was like, right? And not to get dark on you all, but 80% of backstage employees identified that they were dealing with severe mental health crises that nobody was talking about. And then an even darker statistic, right, is that 10% is according to the CDC, right, 10% of Americans suffer from suicidal ideation. In the theater community, backstage alone, 60% of employees express suicidal ideation. And it's because there's nobody there to support them mentally, right? For the long hours that you're working, you're uprooting your life every 7 days and moving to a new city. And so I decided that I'm not gonna let my kin fall like that. I'm going to find a way to step up and be there for them. Now, granted, that particular part of my journey is on pause, but I am finding ways to bring it into being a company manager, right? Advocating for people that don't get a voice, or that you don't particularly hear from, right? Like we all know actors, they get the immediate applause. They're in the spotlight. They get to do all the press. Everybody behind the curtain, nobody knows that they're there. Nobody knows that they're going through the same thing that the actors are going through. And so it makes it isolating. And my job now is to lift their voices up and make sure that they're heard so that they don't feel like they're suffering alone.
Yeah, that was one thing that was really exciting for, spoiler alert, the curtain call that had so much of the cast included that wasn't just the lead characters at the end of the night.
Yeah.
It was an array of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very terrific.
Yeah, it's this show is a monster. It's a beast. Has everybody seen it? Or are people seeing it tonight? Are people not even coming? They just wanted to hear me talk. And the free cookies.
Justin Scholl.
Yeah, our show is massive. It's 56 people on the road. That's 19 performers that you see on stage every night. 4 swings. Those are the people off stage that are ready to go on at a moment's notice. We have 15 touring crew members, 10 touring musicians, 3 company managers, 3 stage managers, 2 merchandise managers. We have 6 service animals on the road with us. Not that they're in the show, but they're there to make us all feel better. But it's a very large company. 7 trucks. The load in is 15 hours over 2 days. The load out is 9 hours currently. So it's a grueling job that we have, and it shows. I mean, this show is chef's kiss. It is stunning. It's comedic, it's funny, it has heart. The set elements are large and well executed. It's just a beautiful show to be a part of.
It's interactive.
Yeah, it's very interactive.
Oh my God.
Justin says terribly offensive things out into the audience every night. Yeah.
That was really exciting as well. Yeah. But we're kind of like in the middle third here. Do people in our audience starting to have questions or ideas of maybe something you'd like to ask our friend?
Yeah.
I have a question. I saw Beetlejuice on Broadway.
Yeah.
We have a microphone coming up for you so you can.
Okay. Again, I have a question. I saw Beetlejuice on Broadway, and it's, for as far as special effects, it's a phenomenal thing. How do you guys do that? Because I've never seen such special effects to get them to travel, and the actors dealing with the special effects and them being on time. It's got to be a phenomenal job with the special effects.
Yeah, so we have one person who's actually dedicated to our special effects. We shaved down a lot for the tour. Like one of the big things that happened on Broadway, I don't know if anybody's seen any promotional videos from the Broadway show, but the big thing was the major component of the show was this massive mansion that moved forwards and backwards. You cannot send that on the road, ladies and gentlemen. That does not tour. That's like 48 trucks and a week load-in. It just would not tour well. But a component of that house, right, was a chandelier that has what we call jibs in them, and that's fireworks that explode. You can't take that on the road either. Like Chicago, you can't have live flame in Chicago because of the great fire that happened there. So you actually cannot have any fire on stage unless you spend weeks, months advancing it, and like fire marshals have to be flown out to your tour to see how it's working. But on our show, we do have Alex Stanley, who's our incredible special effects coordinator, also a deck electrician. And the work that they do is wild. We use a lot of things that are a lot of special things. So we have finger fires for those of you who have seen it or coming to see it. That's how we make that's how we make the fire look like it travels across the stage. Beetlejuice will wear one, shoot off the fire, and then the person who's receiving the fire wears one and shoots it off as well to make it look like it's shot across the stage. We have a ton of flash paper. We have a really cool thing for Juno. It's called a body fogger. That's how we replicate the trachea smoking effect. So it's a special tube that's built into her costume that she's able to fire by like subtly pressing on her costume, and it shoots the fog up and out. So we have a lot of like really cool special effects like that, and it's wild to see. My favorite thing that we have is the projectors, which isn't technically a special effect, but our set can be in like work light conditions, like just this can look really flat, but we have 3 projectors that actually help bring the set to life. So like when you're looking at the roof, there's all this drawn on crown molding. It doesn't actually have any depth, but the projectors are actually able to shoot in there to create this depth to the ceiling that doesn't actually exist. So our show is very state of the art in that way.
Can you talk a little bit about the props flying off the stage and where they go?
What a real treat for everybody.
Yeah.
Props flying.
That is, I wish that there was some kind of like special coordination that we do there. We have people that get assigned in those tracks. We walk them through when we get to a building on Mondays and Tuesdays. We work with the local team that are going to be catching those props. If it's super intricate, like the microphone that gets thrown off stage, that'll be our head of props that coordinates catching that. But honestly, it's kind of like Cirque du Soleil-ish backstage. We like actually have giant hampers that are padded that like the props person is just like to try and coordinate catching some of those elements. But you know, it's live theater, so it's a real treat. Like Miss Argentina last night threw her flowers directly at the conductor, which is fun because he also is playing keys, so that can cause all kinds of fun mishaps on stage. It's a lot of fun.
Times like that, the super long striped arm coming in.
Yeah.
It looks like we have a question back there.
Yeah.
So, how do like the actors like take care of their voices and whatnot since they're going on tour for like a month or so?
Yeah. So everybody has their own ritual, right? You would think that there's like one particular technique for everybody that everybody would follow. It is a wide range, and you're not wrong, right? So our tour, for those of you who don't know, we're currently projected to be on the road for over 76 weeks. So that's across 2 years. Of those 76 weeks, we only have we just had one taken away. So now we only have 4 weeks off total that are scheduled over 76 weeks. And so, yeah, there is a lot that you have to do to maintain your body. There's a lot of, I'm a huge gym person, so it's kind of fun to go to the gym in the morning and see the performers. They all have their own stretching routines, their own workout routines, the way that they want to treat their body. There's these things called pastilles, I think is what they're called. I don't know the actual name of them. There's this like world-renowned lozenge that a lot of performers use that don't have, they're not overly medicating. They're just designed to really keep everything lubricated and warm. And so that's what a lot of the performers will use. There's special singing straws that you can get. A couple of our performers where you put the straw into a cup of water and actually sing into the straw. And it helps get the voice warm and it doesn't annoy your castmates. There's this thing called a bark box that some people use. It's actually a muzzle for performers that they put on, and they can scream, sing, do whatever they want, and nobody can hear them. So it isolates, but they can hear it in their own ears so that they get themselves warmed and taken care of. The array is endless. It is truly wild. But you develop it. The more you train, the more you develop your own special system of knowing what makes you feel safe in the moment. It's like if you talk to Justin Collette, right? Yeah. He has every half hour he puts on very loud punk rock music and screams at it for a half hour. Which to me, talking to you all for 15 minutes, I'm exhausted. So then he has to go do that for 2.5 hours. But his technique is actually wearing down his vocal cords to create the Beetlejuice special effect. So that he doesn't have to manipulate his throat. He can just actually have tired vocal cords, and it makes him sound perfect. It's wild.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one way to get ready for rock and roll is scream and sing along to it really loud.
Yeah.
So if you only have 4 weeks off, you're doing a show basically every week.
Yeah.
Do you have 2 sets of gear that you're leapfrogging from city to city, or do you load out and...
We load out and go right to take it to the next space. There are some tours that are massive, right? Like Moulin Rouge, Frozen, they have what are called advance sets. Lion King also has an advance set where it leapfrogs. They leapfrog to the next city. Ours is, we're only 7 trucks. You usually see a show that has over 12 will create what's called an advance package. But ours is relatively small enough. It's massive.
Still a 9-hour loadout. I used
Yeah.
to do those loadouts for rock and roll bands, and that would get done in the longest run of it would be like 4 hours. Do they do that whole 9 hours at once, or do they do like?
It's all at once. It's exhausting watching our crew, right? They're the best in the business. It's really easy for everybody to say that, right? That their crew is the best. Ours, literally, they're rock stars. They do 2 shows on Sunday, then they get a 30-minute break, and then they go straight into their loadout. Within that loadout, they will have like an hour break to do breakfast, dinner, whatever time frame of meal you would call that. But they do that for 9 hours. Then we have a flight scheduled for them at like 10 a.m. Then they get on that flight. If we're lucky, it's a direct flight. They get to the next city, and then at 5 p.m. they're called back to the venue that evening, and they'll work to either 10 or midnight. And so it's grueling, right? That's one of the things I'm talking about earlier in my reference about burnout, right? Is how do we change those systems so that people aren't destroying their bodies, right? Because for the longest time, the whole conversation has been, well, they get overtime, so that sweetens the pot, and it's like, I haven't seen my dog, and I'm not sure the last time I peed. Like that's a problem, and so it is something that we're actively investigating. Networks has an incredible group of producers that are working diligently around the clock. We're in our infancy phase on this show. We're only in week 9 of touring, so they're working around the clock to try and find ways to make this show easier and smoother, so that we're not breaking people, which is the goal, right?
Big lift. Maybe we have time for one last question. Looks like one right here.
Yeah.
I think we can do 2. They have both.
Okay, there and there.
We got 2.
Hi.
We can do 2. What do we need?
So I was wondering, I seen the show on Broadway in 2020 before COVID happened. How do you get Beetlejuice on the sandworm near the end of the show?
A stepladder. It's shockingly not very difficult. Honestly, like some of our special effects you would think are really difficult to execute. That sandworm is built like a Mack truck. There's so much steel framing inside of that puppet that we just bring over a stepladder. He jumps up, and then he has a special handle that he's able to whip his leg over to come off at the end. But like even Lydia's levitation at the end of the show, it's a Gendry lift that's run off automation. Literally one of the clones sneaks a bicycle seat in, jams it into the stairs, and then Lydia is wearing the long pinafore dress, and she literally just takes a gentle step over it that you can't see as the audience members, and then the bicycle seat lifts up, comes down, game over. 25 seconds, the world's silliest little special effect, but it's
magic.
So amazing when you see
magic.
it on stage. Yeah.
I had no idea swings were backstage ready to jump on. I wondered if you could tell us a story about a swap in.
Yeah, we had a really good one while we were in Cleveland. So a swing, right? So thankfully our show is relatively genderless, except for the 6 principals. They have to be the gender listed, or at least identify that way, right? The rest of the company is we're able to put anybody in. So our swings actually have it kind of worse because, traditionally you would only have to focus on the women of the show and the men would only focus on the men of the show. And ours is like, well, grip it and rip it, you're going on. And an example of that is when we were in Cleveland, Nevada, Riley got sick in the middle of Act 1. And so our swing, Ryan Breslin, who's also our dance captain, had 5 minutes to get into costume to be ready to do Beautiful Sound, which when you see the show, or if you've already seen the show, Beautiful Sound is one of the most difficult numbers in the show. It's backflipping. Almost the entire company is on stage in a very tight space. And so what the swings do is admirable because they know their numbers, they know their costumes, they know exactly where they have to be so that nobody gets injured and everybody feels protected. We also have a term, we like to say shove with love. When someone goes into an understudy or a swing track, right, there are people that have now been doing it for 85 shows, so they know exactly where they're going. And so you just go and move here, and so it's shoving with love. You're not trying to be mean to these people. You're just being like, hey, I've been doing this for a long time. Move over there. So yeah, that one was the wildest that I've seen in a long time. Just like 0 moments notice and you're in. Yeah.
Super duper. All right. Well, I think that brings us right up to the window where we want to get everybody back over to the theater to see this awesome show tonight.
Yay.
I think a round of applause for our friend Justin.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
I hope everybody enjoys the show tonight. I hope you had a good time here. Make sure you enjoy a snack on the way out, and go see Beetlejuice with no fear. I always like to work in a rhyme at the end. Have a good night, everyone.